it's morning time again. I'm looking at all of these dogs that have come to me because they were unruly. That's what these dogs are. Dogs that could not live with their owners because they were dog aggressive, animal aggressive, some people aggressive. And looking at these guys, it reminds me about a conversation I had just the other day with a client of mine about a dog that they've been having problems with for years. And I was explaining to them, this is the difference between what a learned behavior is and a genetic behavior. This is how we can tell. And a lot of times, I don't think people really understand what I'm saying when we talk about nature versus nurture. That learned behavior that they have learned from us, as opposed to the genetic predisposition to be a certain way. It doesn't necessarily have to be aggressive. It can be that they have a genetic predisposition to be fearful. And we think that one day, if we can just continue to train them, or even continue to do what Brandon says should be done for a particular dog, that at some point this dog is going to be normal. But we're talking about genetics. As I've mentioned before, we can't change the genetic predisposition that a dog may have, but we can alter it. What does that really mean? How do we alter this? This tendency that you see here, this is a genetic predisposition for dogs to act this way. For her. To be assertive. And ultimately, that she can be aggressive. Now, that's never going to change. People think that because we have domesticated dogs from wolves, that we don't have to look at the wolf. And some will even say, well, they're so far removed from the wolf, we don't have to look at that. But if that's the case, then that means that the genetics should have taken care of the aggression. And if it didn't, then what is the ultimate meaning? It can't be done. There are just some genetic predispositions that's just the way they are. And so what do we do? What do we have to do if we understand that law? Hey! And that's the truth. What do? We have to understand it and deal with it from there. And get on with understanding how to deal with the genetic predisposition of a dog that's like this or like that or like that. The beautiful thing about that is that by being humans, because we can look inward and out and we have a bottom and no top, we're able to do that. We can exercise that magnificent ability. But we don't want to. We want it to be easy for us. And I get that. But in doing the hard thing, understanding it, being a realist, believe me, it will become easy, as it has become easy for me once I was able to see it, not from my perspective, but from nature's perspective. And I was telling them a story about when I was a kid in school working on a chemistry project, and how fascinated I was about understanding how to go the limits. If you can take what you have experienced in life and apply it throughout your life, certain aspects of it, a little bit of everything that we have learned, we can apply to our lives. But in this case, it was a chemistry project, and I remember that if I could put one drop, and one drop in a glass, And then we find that sometimes just one more drop changes everything. Or one more drop could have changed everything. And sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. And then based on that determines what kind of project you got going. It's fascinating. And so when I worked with dogs, you see, this girl is tired of her doing what she's doing. She's showing off. Now, Tiger is able to take this girl out with no problem, but she has learned to temper herself, this girl right here. And so she does just a little bit, just enough to let her know, hey, get off me. And then what she does, this dog becomes calm. You see? But she needed that. She needed to be told that. She's out of line. It's okay sometimes, but right now you're out of line. That's what we have to tell our dogs. We can't wish that this never happened or that it would not happen. That's crazy. We're dealing with animals, man. We're dealing with animals. And so in that situation there, had she continued just one more drop, she could have gotten into a fight. If this girl didn't listen and not produce one more drop, right, then it would have been a problem. But she listened. She only gave it so much, and she only allowed so much. And because of that, boom, now we've got the calmness. See, this is simple stuff, but it took many years to learn this simplicity. For dogs, for me to understand that dogs are looking only for the danger. They're out for that danger because they're pushing the envelope. And in pushing the envelope, they know how far they can go. But you will never know how far you can go until you go that distance, until you fall, until you scrape, until you have that fight. You see? This is like a chemistry project that I have here. This is my own chemistry project that I have. These are dogs that people just couldn't do it. Didn't want to give their all. It's like falling in love. You just fall all the way, man. And then once you understand where the problem was, or you come back and you got this knowledge, now you know how to navigate through things. This is not an easy job. It may look easy, but those who get involved with this, with the aggression, and you can be bitten, and dogs can be ripped up, and dogs go to the hospital, and maybe even in some cases dogs don't make it. This will force you, just like a scientist, to dig deeper into what you're doing to make sure that this never happens again. It's always the adversities in life that causes us to look for a solution. And in looking for that solution, we may find many things to help us with a simple problem. And so in understanding that it is simple, yet at the same time it's complicated, it humbles you to stay in the middle of that thing and not think that you got it all together, or that you know everything. I don't know everything, but I know this. I know what I'm looking at when I see it. I know what I'm hearing when I hear it. But there are always variations, because there's always different experiences that a dog has had before they got here that I've got to see, filter out, and then bring out the nature side of them. And if they have learned something that I don't like, spend my energy putting time into producing another lesson, another behavior. But that takes time, and it's over and over again, and hormonally manipulating the dogs to feel what I want. So these dogs have come to me from people who wanted to get involved with what it is that I do, that wanted to know how to do this. But were they willing to give everything you have, to humble yourself? You've heard me say before that I submit to my dogs too, as well as I want them to submit to me. It's a give and take. You see it when they play. This is why I say this. You will see sometimes a dog that will play the submissive role. And then that dog that was being dominant will play the submissive role. So they switch off. And in doing this, it's a very subtle way of figuring out where you fit in. This is what I'm doing. This is why I say I humble myself to this. This is humbling, man. If you've ever been in a dog fight, or let me change that. If you've ever been in a pack fight, oh, it's horrific. And then to get back up and do it again day after day after day after day after year, you better know something. If you don't know, you won't be doing it. You can't last, man. These guys give 110%. They don't play with this thing. They have to because they have a top and a bottom. The human being can say, this is too much. I don't have a top. I got a bottom, so I don't need this crap. I'm going to go on and I'm going to do something else. But depending how far down that rabbit hole you have gone, when you do try to give it up, something in you pulls you back based on the reason that you got in it in the first place. So what was my reason? I was mauled. I was mauled by a German Shepherd. Hey! Gotta get on these guys again. I was mauled by a German Shepherd, man. A professionally taught assassin, so to speak. And that connection, that bite, it's like a cartoon that something got inside of me. Something that was so horrific that it kickstarted the area of my brain that's called the hippocampus that is responsible for long-term memory, and I couldn't run from it. I couldn't run from it. It's like a dog with fear aggression, true fear aggression. I'm talking about an animal with true fear aggression. When you corner them, they would rather run, but when you corner them, then they become aggressive. That's true fear aggression. Most of our dogs have learned. It's just learned. It's not just natural. But I was cornered. I was trapped with, why did this happen? I couldn't let it go. Everyone thought, oh, he's going to be afraid of dogs, especially German Shepherds, and, blah, blah, blah. You hear it all, That's their fear. I didn't see it that way because I had already experienced that horrific part of it. I never thought that it could happen again. I never thought that that would happen. But it did. And it took me to a different level of understanding. And there is an old saying that every level is a new devil. Meaning that there's going to be some problems no matter where you go. You think that, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this, and when I get there, my life is going to be okay. And then you get there and you realize that's not it. And that's not it, and that's not it, and that's what I do with these dogs. Every time I get a dog in, even if I'm having a little difficulty with the aggression, and then we work it out, I say, okay, now I got it. Then another dog comes in, and I say, well, that wasn't it. This is a whole nother devil that I'm dealing with here, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And so what ends up happening is you get really, really, really good at recognizing devils. You can recognize what you're looking at. It has a pattern, right? So all of these dogs are different. You hear me say that. But the overall law of them is the same. Now, just with understanding that, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, that relieves some tension. I don't have to worry about that. I know I got that part, right? Okay. Oh, dogs are very sensitive. Okay, they're very impatient. Okay, what does that mean? That means that I have to understand how patient and impatient I am. I need to become more patient with something that is impatient. Dogs that are more compulsive. And then what you learn is because they're compulsive creatures, that's why they do what they do. They can't really control that. But I realize that myself sometimes. I'm compulsive, but the more conscious I become, the less compulsive I become. So how does that work with dogs? Oh, the more consequences that they receive, the less compulsive they become. You see how this works? Oh, some more pressure has been released from me. Oh man, now I'm feeling a little good about myself because I understand that we just go on and on and on like this. And truth reveals itself more and more, and it gets easier and easier as it becomes more complicated. And then every year you grow. I'm talking to people who work with dogs, okay? I'm talking to people who want to get involved with this because they want to do some good. And in doing some good, you got to understand some bad. You know, you don't really appreciate where you are in life until someone makes you feel as though you miss what you had. And when you miss what you had, then you say, okay, I really had it good. The grass really wasn't greener on the other side. It's pretty green right here. And that's how this thing works, man. Don't look for it to be easy. There's an old saying, if you do in life what is easy, then life will be hard. If you do in life what is hard, then life will be easy. I understand that now. I understand that now. You know, I originally started this video, I wanted to take off from the video yesterday about the breaking. I was mentioning about a horse, and I ended up here. So, but I got a feed, and we got time. I'll get to it a little more. But I just want you to know, it's not about easy. Easy comes after understanding, okay? And humbling yourself to this very powerful and magnificent creature. It's never ending, you know, and that's the beauty in it. We think that one day we're going to get to the end and bam, that's going to be it. No, it's great that there's a never-ending thing, you know. It's just great. Every year there's another level. So we'll continue.